Hello, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube colleagues. This is Becky Carzon from Learning Pioneers, the curator of a learning community committed to being the change in education. And I wanted to jump in today to talk to you and to talk with you, if you join in with the StreamYard, either now or later on, about belonging and why it's so important in our schools. And our classrooms and everywhere, really, why belonging is so important. So I popped out a survey on Twitter and LinkedIn asking how important you thought but creating belonging in our workplaces was. And unanimously, in both surveys, everyone either voted 7 to 8 out of 10 or 8 or 9 to 10 out of 10 in terms of importance. So everybody who voted thinks that belonging is really important. And so do we. In Learning Pioneers, we think that's really important. It relates to our first design principle in the Learning Power approach and our line of inquiry that we always look into between September and October, which is about making the classroom a safe, secure, and inspiring place to learn. And the more I spiral into inquiries around this, the more I realize this is the most important design principle. If we don't have belonging, if we don't have well-being, if we don't have secure routines and strong relationships, it makes it really hard to dive into challenge, collaboration, and to create a classroom full of learning and taking risks and becoming the best versions of ourselves. So we think that belonging and inclusion are really, really important. And another reason it's important it's to do with our sense of self and the human beings we're working with, our colleagues, ourselves, the children that we have in our classrooms, and the families we work with. Imagine a workplace where every single person felt like this was the place for them, that they were represented, that they were seen, heard, valued, and that they knew they were going to be welcomed and feel part of something when they walk in the door. So I wonder, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much belonging you feel is in your classroom, in your school. When you think about your class, or you think about colleagues, or you think about families in your school, are there people and families and colleagues you can think of and you think they really feel like they belong, like this is the place for them? And are there others where you think they don't feel that sense of belonging, not like some of the other people? And how do you create a sense of belonging in your classrooms and schools? How do you invite people in and make them feel like this is the place for them? And if that's challenging and if that's not working, how do you grapple with that? And how do you find other ways to include those people and make that explicitly part of becoming part of a learning community? So these are really important questions, and we think paying conscious attention to them is really important because it makes a difference between a child or a group of children or a member of staff feeling like this is the place for them and therefore launching into taking risks and collaborating and bringing their best versions of themselves, either doing that or not, feeling anxious and feeling unwelcome and feeling scared and not wanting to be there. So therefore not being ready to learn, not being ready to collaborate, not being ready to drive a vision forward in a school. So it's also really important to pay attention to this because we might feel like we're creating belonging, but so often it's our unconscious habits, our unconscious beliefs that are creating an environment that may not be nurturing to every single person, not on purpose. That isn't something we do on purpose, but it's something we might be doing unconsciously. So to make that unconscious behavior conscious, pay attention to it and value what we're doing really well and keeping doing that. So we know that we're purposefully doing those things to create belonging and letting go of things that aren't working and introducing new things that might work better is the process by which we will become really consciously competent in creating that belonging in our classrooms. So I wanted to share with you, excitingly, that our first line of inquiry in Learning Pioneers, which will run from September until November, is going to be on belonging and inclusion. And the way that we're going to become really consciously competent in our practice, well, there's lots of ways. We get lots of perspective in Learning Pioneers. But one of the key ways is that we're going to run a live Q&A, and we tend to invite in 2, and this time 3, lead thinkers on belonging and inclusion. So we're really lucky that Benny Cara is going to come and speak with us, Joe Brassington and Kim Scott, and they're all going to bring different angles of their knowledge, of their expertise, of their experience, to help us understand how we can create belonging and inclusion in our schools and classrooms. I'll add their bios and links into the chat after this, so you can follow up and see who they are and what they do and how amazing they are. And just imagine the richness of those people coming together and sharing their perspectives and their experience and creating new thinking and experience with us. The exciting thing is we get to co-create the interview for them. And after that interview, we break down what they've shared into little snippets of videos. If you're on our YouTube video channels, you'll see examples of these snippets, these provocations that get us deepening and circling back and thinking. This is the collective efficacy piece of Learning Pioneers, that we're drip feeding content over time, we're collaborating and having conversations about how to put those ideas into practice, putting them into practice, reflecting and grappling and coming back in a psychologically safe learning environment. Kimberly Cooper says that Learning Pioneers is the most psychologically safe space she knows. So this is the space where we can grapple, where we can come back and say this didn't work and change what we're doing. And we know we're not going to be judged. We know that we're going to have a supportive team around us. So we're going to be looking at that content over time, and we'll also run a book study that runs alongside that, bringing more perspective, more depth. And we have planned in times where we can gather together and choose what we're going to inquire into and come back and talk about grapples we're having with that too. So we'd love to invite you into the Learning Pioneers community to join us in that journey. I'm going to share in the chat our brand new speakers page, which will show exactly what our lines of inquiry are this year and all of the inquiries we've had the last 2.5 years. And you get access to all of those inquiries too. We're making it super clear in Learning Pioneers. So you can dive into all of those speakers, all of those lines of inquiry, and join us on this really exciting voyage to embed belonging into our schools and classrooms. It's going to be amazing. So I wanted to tell you all about that. And I'd love to hear your thinking around belonging and inclusion. Do you think it's important? How are you developing it? And would you like to get better at making sure that every single person in your school and classroom now and moving forwards has that sense of belonging, so that you can use that as a launch pad to deeper, more challenging, more exciting learning that they'll really feel part of? Thank you, and have a nice weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.